Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. My name is Hannah Crapeau, and I'm the Content Marketing Manager at Certiport. We're so happy to have everyone joining us for our second IT Specialist Academy webinar this afternoon. Please note that this session is being recorded, so you all should be on mute. If you have specific questions for our panelists today, we are more than happy to have them answer those. Just make sure to send those through either the Q&A or the chat feature, and we'll address those as we go throughout our discussion this afternoon. Today, you're signed up for Teacher to Teacher, how to build your IT program, and we'll be sitting down with a few of our very favorite veteran educators to learn how they've built their IT programs, plus how they simplify IT topics to help spark students' interest in this burgeoning field. Now, our first panelist is Mr. Mark Hess, who is a designer, developer, animator, and educator who is analytical, technical, and creative with a love for storytelling and interactive experiences. He has shared his experience with many students at numerous institutions of higher education and has worked as a content developer for numerous industry certification exams, including Adobe, Autodesk, Unity, and Microsoft. He is currently serving as an adjunct professor at Marist College, Western Connecticut State University, and Dutchess Community College, as well as a success navigator at Westchester Community College. He earned his BA in telecommunications and film at San Diego State University, along with an MS in computer science at Pace University and an MS in digital imaging and design at New York University. Our second panelist is Abner Soto Henry. Abner has taught information technology education for nearly 20 years at the Latin American Youth Center Career Academy in Washington, D.C., specializing in Microsoft certifications, IC3 digital literacy certifications, and CompTIA certifications. In total, Mr. Soto Henry has more than 24 years of experience in education. He's originally from Costa Rica and speaks fluent Spanish, English, and Portuguese, enabling him to connect with students that he serves at the Latin American Youth Center. He has received several awards, including being named Certiport's 2021 Educator of the Year. A former professional soccer player, his passion for teaching is only rivaled by his love for the game. So we're happy to have Abner join us for another session today. Our third and last, but certainly not least panelist is Tracy Driscoll. Tracy is a computer instructor in Mobile, Alabama, with 20 years of teaching experience. She received her Bachelor of Science degree in computer science from the College of Engineering at the University of Alabama. She also has a Master of Science degree in computer information technology from Regis University. She previously worked as a systems analyst and a computer programmer. She teaches many different courses, including Apple Swift, ethical hacking, programming, logic, and design, C#, HTML5, and CSS, Visual Basic, and all Microsoft applications. So as you can see, we are very, very well accompanied today for this conversation about IT skills and how to empower students with these skills across a wide range of different specialties. So we're so excited to have these amazing panelists join us. To kick things off, I'd like to have, we've given a little bit of a more formal introduction, but I'd love to have each of you tell us a little bit about you and your teaching experience and the students that you serve. So Tracy, if it's okay, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Okay. Hi, I teach at the community college level. I've been teaching for over 20 years. Well, you've already read what my what my degree is in. So basically, I teach. My favorite courses to teach are programming and applications. So those are my favorite. But I teach whatever I'm asked to teach. I've also taught cybersecurity, ethical hacking, networking. But my favorite classes are programming and applications. I teach all of the Microsoft application programs. I do the certifications for those programs, Apple Swift certifications for those programs as well, for that program. And we're hoping to bring on a few more certifications at my college, but that's my area.
Awesome. Thank you, Tracy. Mark, let's go ahead and have you introduce yourself to the team.
So I also have been in higher education for over 20 years. I've sparingly worked with younger groups, mostly 6 through 12 in certain instances, as well as older groups in a unique situation where I was working one-on-one with adults with special needs, and which was really interesting. But once COVID hit, they went remote, and I decided not to continue to do that in that context. Across the board through digital media and computer science throughout this time, as well as things outside of that, such as college math and I'm just trying to think, office applications, which I really wouldn't consider to be under either digital media or computer science. And a diverse range of students, from suburbs to inner city to rural areas, since I've been at so many different schools. And it's been an interesting ride.
Well, you'll have some expertise to share with us across the board. So I think we have educators joining us from all different types of backgrounds. So that's super helpful. All right, we have Abner, I think, in the middle of his teaching day as well. So we appreciate you joining us. Abner, do you want to give us a little bit of an introduction to you and the students that you work with?
Of course, good afternoon, everyone. It is an honor to be here with all of you to talk about something that I really love. And it's basically to share information and how to improve in our careers and life, and also learn from the experts like you. So basically with the main goal to help our students to have the best performance in education. As you said, I used to play soccer. Very passionate also about technology, Jay, and I have been teaching 25 years, and it's crazy, 25 years. And now that's the age of my students. And it has been an amazing journey, sharing and learning from my students and clients. And also my background is business administration and accounting, but change to technology after the Y2K in 2000. And before that, I was teaching chemistry in a high school, basic chemistry. So it was very interesting. But now, super passionate about technology. We have, I think, like a 28, 30 different certifications in our platform for our students, and our students are amazing. They love certifications, and we have a competition here, and some of them have 20, 25, 28 certifications, and we are having fun.
I love that. Abner's my go-to whenever I need to feel excited about something. He always he always knows how to get us all pumped up. So I want to get this question addressed first and kind of get the elephant in the room dealt with before we dive into hopefully more optimistic topics. But I know that the COVID-19 pandemic has had a huge impact on educators across the country and across the world. So Abner, I'll start with you. What specifically have you seen as the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic with your school's IT program?
Well, it has been a challenging time for everyone, especially for my students who are struggling with so many things apart from the pandemic. Learning a new environment, just not being in front of the class, the traditional class, and now they are dealing with the virtual, and it has been a little bit difficult for a few of them, because it's like sitting in front of my computer the entire day, and you have to be very creative and motivate them a lot. But for them has been very challenged, and also, they wanted to be out, they wanted to be here in the school and touch the computers, play with the computers, and be around the classmates. But because of all this, it has been very sad for obviously for all of them. And thankfully, we are back in business. We just opened like 2 weeks ago, and we can see the students smiling, working together, the same thing, having the distance, but we are having a great time now that we are back in business, but still doing both. And still, for a few of them, is a little bit difficult because they don't have good internet.
Mhm.
They don't have a good computer. They have kids. They have people around the house, running, walking, and doing a lot of stuff. And sometimes it's not the best environment for them. So that's kind of the situation
Yeah,
for us.
a lot of different barriers. Tracy, same question for you. Have you seen significant barriers for your students throughout the
Yes,
pandemic? Mm.
yes, some of the same issues. When we first went out, it was unexpected. No one was expecting this.
Mhm.
So that was a difficult semester because all of a sudden in the middle of the semester, the students had to
Everything
work from
changed.
home.
Yeah.
So we had the issue of students not having computers at home, but yet they were taking a computer course. Uh, and then the school loaned out Chromebooks. Well, that's not a computer, and so and so there were some students that couldn't get some of their assignments done.
Mhm.
And one of my classes, I was teaching an Apple Swift class, and I had one student in that class that owned a Mac. Well, you need a Mac to do the work, and so I did get where they actually let me loan Macs out.
Mm.
I We created a entire sheet, and the students had to sign off for them, and they all were returned in working order, so that worked out. And so the next semester they wouldn't allow me to do that, but I still had that class.
Mm.
And so I eventually found out about Mac and Cloud, but before then, I literally had computers in my guest room, and they were connecting to the computers and working virtually
Yeah.
on my Wi-Fi. So that was an issue, for it didn't slow my Wi-Fi down too much, but it was still, I had a room in my house full of computers.
Yeah.
So that was a problem. Uh, but then I learned about Mac and Cloud, so the next semester was able to move to that. And I just, since they didn't have to buy a book, I just told them they all had to purchase Mac and
Mhm.
Cloud so they can do the work virtually. So those type of issues are issues I had to deal with. The Some of the classes, the enrollment dropped down a little bit,
Mhm.
but we just had to be creative and work with students and understand. Um, Students, if they were having issues or they didn't have the software on the computer, try to come up with things they could do online, because they didn't have the software for the computers at home. So it
Yeah.
was
It really brought out, I think, the inequality with access to these tools, right?
yes,
And
yes.
forced a lot of you guys to be really creative. Mark, did you see similar things at the schools that you work in, or did you guys face any different barriers?
Well, at the time that COVID hit, everyone knows about the first or second week of March where everyone was sent home. I was actually teaching at a different school at that time. With that school, they made every efforts. In fact, they actually took an extra spring break when COVID hit. They said, let's take a week off and make sure we get set up, make sure students have laptops that they issued and literally shipped to the students if they needed to.
Wow.
Um, and I think they even added like another 3-day break after we returned because I guess it wasn't working out for some. And that was a school-wide thing. So maybe, I was all set up and ready to go, but maybe certain areas in the other departments really needed more time to set up to really serve the students. So that was unique for that school. And I was just in a 1-semester contract with them. The one school I'm serving at now in an admin role, that literally started the week before COVID hit, and it was a spring break for the students. So when I started, there was no students here anyway. And once the following week happened and they sent all of us home, we started to work from home, and it was, still had no direct contact face to face with students, even though my job was actually to have contact with students
Mhm.
in a face-to-face role. So that all went, of course, remotely entirely through use of phone and email. Very interesting with that particular school, the one I'm doing the admin work on with, is many of the faculty that I work with, which is in the School of Math, Science, and Engineering, they had the feeling or the belief that with everyone the following fall remaining remote, most schools remain remote the following fall, that would be a benefit for, since we're the local community college, with the idea that many students would decide not to return to their four-year school or wherever and just stay home locally and take classes at the community college. That wasn't the case. The one good thing was that we actually did not lose a lot of enrollment, which was great. But now that we're in the second fall, this particular school that I'm doing this admin role at is still 70% remote, with only some classes in person that have specific sciences, and for new students, for freshmen, to get them on campus. And now it's significantly down. The enrollment is significantly down, and which is too bad. And especially with the fact that pretty much every other school around here, whether it's a four-year school, which is most of the cases, and community college is 100% back in person. So ironically, the three schools that I'm teaching at now, which are three different schools on the admin role, I started, during this pandemic, including two brand new this fall and the one last fall. And even though that one wasn't truly 100% back in person last fall, all three of these other schools, I am teaching 100% full-time in person, and hybrid's not even an option. Like, so a student, one or two students have already asked, can I do, this class remote, or can I do it this particular day from each twice a week remote? And it's not even an option. So if the student can't make class, obviously there's other ways we can accommodate them, just as before the pandemic. And of course, if they test positive and can't come to class, same thing, there's other ways we can accommodate them. So, so those are the unique situations I'm in. And obviously I'm driving all over the place, which I don't mind. I want to get out of the house. And most of the students that I interact with through the administrative role that I have, when I speak to them and talk to them about, coming back or registering, or whatever the case is, very few prefer this model, which is the remote teaching and learning model. Most of the students overwhelmingly want to be in class, in person. And for those particular students, the only benefit they see in not having to go to campus is, saving money on transportation.
Sure.
And that's really it.
Yeah, I mean, all of you have echoed similar difficulties, and I'm sure the educators who are present for this webinar feel those same pains. And a lot of it goes back to things that occur outside of the classroom. So how can you overcome those when you're working in an environment where you're either remote or specifically in the classroom? So I wanted Mark to kind of throw this question back to you, switching gears a little bit, but we've talked about barriers that we see with education in general, but for those who are joining the webinar to talk about IT education, one of the biggest issues I think is getting students interested in the topic, and having students who might not have exposure to IT kind of take the fear out of that, right? Because it's perceived as a rather difficult course or difficult concept, and so some students may not feel like they're qualified. So what do you do as an educator to introduce these topics to students and get them excited about a field that they might not have a ton of experience in?
Yeah, I mean, that's a challenge, because everyone is different and unique, and especially the classes I'm taking, that's I'm teaching now. Even though 4 out of the 5 involve using technology, both hardware and software, they're not specific to a particular major. So I have students across the board, various majors, everything from business to whatever it could be, chemistry, to the one particular school, there's students who are taking, like aviation management. And so the, challenge for interest and or fun is always going to be there. And, when you look out, you can kind of tell, when someone is not really into the topic, unless they're really using their hands, right? And so the one challenge is one class alternates between a lecture room and a lab room, and it's the lecture room. Okay, how are they going to stay interested unless we're having some type of dialogue? Because you really can't do anything hands-on, so to speak, that involves tech in a lecture room. Where you can when you're actually in the lab room. And so I have my different challenges through these different classes across the board, and I kind of take it day by day. And one of those reasons is because I am brand new to 2 of these schools, and I'm brand new to a couple of these classes I am teaching, right? So I'm kind of generating, not necessarily the content, right, but the approach is completely generic and organic right now for me. And I don't mind trying, different things to get them interested and involved. When you and I spoke, we talked about different specific things that might have been age appropriate to different levels, things like Scratch. But the main thing I think is they want to be doing something. And I was the same way. If I wasn't doing something in school, I wasn't too interested. And it might have led me astray to horse around when you shouldn't be, and maybe getting in trouble.
I love that, though. I think the hands-on aspect is so important. So I wanted to toss the same question, Abner, to you. What do you do? Now that you're back in person, what do you think educators can do to get students excited about IT?
I will say a great introduction about your product. And I think that's going to be the very first step, with a big smile, just tell them the truth. Just give them all the options that they can have. And I think it's very important to share the student success stories with the new students, so they know what possible jobs and successes are in a store for them in the future. IT can be really exciting when you know that there is a great job waiting for you when you earn all your certifications. And I try to instill that excitement and share that excitement daily. Every single minute with my current students, so they know that there is a path forward. And I think by sharing all this information and even bringing other coworkers, or show them videos on YouTube about students doing amazing things, and I think that's the best way to get them excited about IT.
I love that. Some third-party validation. I saw, Tracy, you nodding your head. Do you try to do similar things with your students?
Yes. One thing we have here, of course, we didn't have it last year or this year because of COVID, but they have it's called World of Opportunities. And so we participate in World of Opportunities, trying to get them interested at a young age. And so what that is they bring in middle school children, and they teach them, you have all kind of fields. And so they learn about different job fields. And so we always go to World of Opportunities and set up something and try to get the middle school students interested. And 2 years ago, they also had a night that high school students could come in as well. So to kind of just show them and hand out information and let them ask questions. So that's one way to get them interested. Try to let them know, well, this is an opportunity. Also, just let them know the different jobs that are available. Um, I try to look and let students know, okay, well, these are the different things you can do in IT, and these are the type of salaries that you can make in IT. And I do let them know in my area, you may have to move. You may have to move. This is what you can make here, but if you go to Northern Alabama, you'll make a little bit better, or leave the state completely. So I let them know the type of income they can make, the type of
Sure.
jobs um, they can get in IT. Um, and like he said, let them know the success stories that you've had. Okay, students that have gone on to be successful and got jobs at companies that they may know about and be interested in. Um, and once you have a student, because you mentioned a student may not know that much about IT, so giving them constant feedback and showing them that they can succeed early by
Mhm.
giving them a simple assignment and letting them see, oh, well, I did pretty well. Uh, and that's going to get them interested as well. And also when they see the income levels, and it's not just the IT students. Like Mark said, he teaches a lot of students that aren't IT students.
Sure.
Okay, well, in the applications class, there are a lot of students that are not going to be in IT. So when I get those students, I try to make sure they know about Excel and everything that you can do with Excel and how valuable that is in the job market. I have friends that contact me and ask me how to do things in Excel. And these are people with different types of jobs, specifically accounting.
Mhm.
I have a friend, she's in accounting. She contacts me, you know, and she'll ask questions. And she just tells me how many people do not know Excel. Okay, so just things like that. I try to let them know the different opportunities that are available for them in IT.
I love that, putting the skills in context, right? Either through success stories, talking about students who have gone on to do amazing things, or showing, this is the career path that you can take if you do earn these skills. So I think both of those aspects are so important. Plus, I love the idea of working with students before they come to you. I think all of you work with students who are high school age or above. And so going to students at the younger level to really spark that interest, because it doesn't necessarily start when they're ready to pick a career. It has to start with something that is an interest before then. So
Yes.
with that in mind, I wanted to ask, how can educators, or what do you as an educator do to connect IT to other fields? So Mark, you specifically work, I think, across the board with computer science, but then also with things like graphic design. What can educators do to show students, or to even cross-pollinate between departments, that IT skills are necessary for all sorts of careers?
Yeah, well, I mean, what you're saying is valid, obviously. I think it's very rare to um, have a profession that's not going to require the use of some type of technology, and more specifically, computers or other devices that are going to have computers in them. And I think the saturation of that lends itself to find ways to integrate and to, I don't use the word cohabitate, but cross over between departments and programs. And by doing so, I think you'll make each department that's crossed over healthier.
Mhm.
Especially in small schools, right? So you have a small school, and you have whatever enrollment numbers that you have, and those students, if they're on this track, to complete this associate's or this bachelor's degree, it's very likely that they're going to see the same faces in every class, and possibly have the same professors, the same rotation of professors throughout their 2 years of a bachelor's, associates, and 4 years of a bachelor's. So the more that an institution can have, crossover, it's going to be better for students, to meet and work with other professors, to meet and work with other students, and to, hopefully, associate, what their interests and career plans might be with these other things and why they're so important. And, and that could potentially change their mind, and that's okay, because you do that a lot in college and even beyond.
Yeah. Abner, what are your thoughts? What connections do you have to other departments at your school? And how do you show them the importance of the IT skills?
So it is important that the students know that there are other avenues available with the skills that they are learning in IT, and when they earn these certifications. For example, we have, as I said, a big platform, and in my class, the doors are open, and they become interested in other fields. For example, we always talk about, be very creative, and that's why you have, for example, this additional certification, the entrepreneurship and now business. So let's go. So you already know how to use Microsoft Excel. You already know how to use Microsoft Word. So go over the training and start playing with accounting. Accounting is just beautiful, and you can start, building your own business. This is just one option, but also you have, for example, the Adobe Certified Professional. So you can be a freelancer and do your, website for businesses, and I mean, it's so many opportunities. And because we are the friendliest in town, we always tell them, hey, just take as many as you can, as many as you want. And they are always thinking about, okay, so I can do this, I can do that. And that's why we have to encourage them to go beyond just the basic certifications.
I love that. I graduated college thinking I was just going into marketing, not realizing how important IT skills were. And especially as things have changed and more people are kind of expecting that at baseline, I think. So Tracy, is that something you see with your students, that they're bridging from IT into other fields? And what do you do to help them see the bigger picture?
Well, a lot of our students, they're going to take Word and Excel. Most students in the majors, they understand the importance of that. Even our nursing students, they take micro applications because they need that skill for their job. Our business students tend to take micro applications because of Excel. And we in our CIS, if they choose the mobile apps track, we have them take graphics design because they need to know how they can save money if they can do their own graphics design when they're building their apps. So we do try to work with other departments in our college. We need to do a better job at that, just reaching out. And for students, I try to, when I teach them Word, I try to make sure they understand the importance of Word. I tell them you need to know how to create a resume. And I let them know that there are templates out there to help them, but they can customize it. I make sure that they understand the tools that they can use to do their research papers for their English class. So I always try to, in teaching them, show them where they can use this in other areas. Our health information technology students will also take some of our CIS classes. And I know that's more the application side and not the programming side, but in every field they need IT.
Yeah.
And I always say the students, I hear people say, well, these young students, they already know how to use computers when they come out of high school, and they do not. They know how to use their phones and their iPads when they come out. So yes,
They're just not prepared to use them in a professional context, right?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of schools need to work on crossing and working with other departments within their school.
Mhm.
We do some of it, but we definitely need to do a little bit more.
Yeah, it's all something that we can do a little bit better for sure.
Yes.
So the last question I have for all of our panelists, and we'll start Abner with you if that's okay, is what advice would you give to educators who are looking to build or even strengthen their IT enrollment, their IT program at their institutions?
Okay, as you know, it is very important to build relationships with all of the amazing students that we have in our classroom, and just find the way to fire up the students and get them excited about learning, and to really challenge them so you can see excellence in your environment. For example, in our school, we have the mentality to always think about this: be the reason someone else decides to make a difference in others, and have a big impact overall by using good manners, being gracious, respectful, excellent, ambitious, and even tenacious in all these aspects. So they can be basically the best in your classroom, the school, the community, and that's the best way to sell the class and all your certifications that you have in your school.
Oh, I love that. I love the idea that promoting them to be their best selves really helps them to spark curiosity and interest in all different areas, right? That's wonderful. Okay, Tracy, I'll pass it over to you. What advice would you give to educators who are attending this webinar, looking to either strengthen or hopefully expand their IT programs at their schools?
Find business partners, and what I mean is find in your area who's hiring people in IT. Find out what skills they're looking for, and make sure you include those skills within your program. So developing that partnership with business and industry. And also, when students come in, you don't have to be the student's friend, but you need to know how to relate to them.
Mhm.
So you can kind of meet them where they are. Being in a community college, I have students right out of high school. I have veterans. I have older students, and I have to be able to relate with them all. And
Mhm.
I try to teach. I try to have my students help out as well. If I have a student that's doing well, I try to maybe get them to help a little bit, sit them by the student that's struggling, so they can help each other.
Mhm.
And give them feedback. When I went to school, you had 3 exams in a semester. You know, if you bombed one of those, you were probably not going to pass that class.
Right.
Okay, so students in the community college setting, because you have students with different education levels, and some of them been out of school for a long time, they need more feedback on a
Mhm.
regular basis. So, you know, I like to give frequent assignments. They don't have to be large assignments, but I like frequent assignments so that I can give them that feedback. Um, and you just have to see what type of students you're pulling in, what that student needs. Um, and I always say students, they're in school because they want a better job. They want to make money. So I say, provide that for them. Let them know, well, if you go this path, this type of job you can expect. If you put in the work, this is the type of job you can expect, and this is the type
Mhm.
of money you can earn. So
Yeah.
that's my advice.
Being able to, well, you said a couple of amazing things, but being able to bridge the gap between education and directly in your community into the workforce, showing
Yes.
students, after taking my class, you should be able to go into this position and be successful. And being able to have that constant loop of communication, right? About this is what you're learning and this is how it applies in this field. I think that that's just so wonderful. So I love that. Thank you, Tracy. Mark, any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, well, I think Tracy touched on one thing I was thinking at the beginning, where, you know, those connections to, you know, the external businesses that are local to your school and the industry that's local to the school. If you have, you know, programs that are set up for the students to intern and or, you know, somehow work with, you know, the particular programming, you know, software engineering company or whatever it is that's out there that's tech related, that's near, you know, it could be a power company, right? It could be virtually anything. And, you know, even before that, I've seen some schools where they're developing connections or articulations, we call them, you know, from high school to a community or four-year school, where kids in the high school can actually take with the program set up where they're taking, you know, 1 or 2 a year, where the class is mirroring what's being taught in the college. And then those students have a track where they potentially have, you know, 12 or more credits when they start that community college or whatever the four-year college is in that particular program, whether it's computer science or something else. So I've seen schools doing that. Obviously, it benefits the students going through the high school, and it benefits the college that, you know, wants to bring students in. Just as it's going to go from a community college, you know, to your school articulation agreement to any four-year schools that are in a particular, you know, area. You know, for us in the state of New York, some of that is the whole, you know, web of the state university system. And some of that is just more specific depending on the actual program. And if you recall, you and I were talking about this, and, you know, one thing that might be even more challenging, you know, because I think internships might be more challenging now with the, you know, whatever requirements, restrictions, regulations that a business might have. But you and I talked about these, you know, one-day internships,
right?
You know, give the students, you know, a taste of what that's really like. You know, it doesn't have to be a 10-week or full semester thing. It could be one day, or maybe it's 2 days, like we spoke. And if someone can, you know, do that for their students, whether it's the college level or high school level, I think that's going to be, you know, a real benefit across the board. And the only thing that's really happening, I don't know in other states, but locally we have something called BOCES, BOCES. And that's typically where students, you know, leave school, you know, high school for half the day. They spend half the day at this facility where they're learning a trade. And, you know, when I was younger, it was specifically a trade, whether it was carpentry or plumbing or mechanic or HVAC. Nowadays, they do have a lot of tech stuff related there as well. So they're doing it at this other facility outside of their main school. And in that context, they are working with new instructors, and they are working with other students at other schools, because all the schools are busing there to this one facility. So we have that here, but I don't know across the country if they have things like that.
Yeah, I love what you said, and I'm glad that you brought up what we talked about in our conversations earlier, Mark, about all you have to do a lot of times is give them a taste early of what that looks like, and to see it in context, and to be able to kind of share what it looks like in the real world, right? That's basically what every teacher wants students to be able to catch the vision of, is to be able to use these skills in a real world environment. So I love the idea of, you know, a one-day internship, or going and taking a half day and learning a skill in a different environment. I mean, what student doesn't want to have a little bit of a break from the classroom, right? And do more things hands-on. So that's wonderful and practical advice.
Yeah, it was actually about 1.5 years ago. I didn't even know this. And this is a school, since I live kind of on the state border, there was a school in Connecticut right over the border that I didn't even know, but I knew someone at the school, and I was talking to the person, the mother, and I was asking about school since COVID had just started and everyone was. And so this school, actually, all the seniors at this particular high school, they're done when April starts, and every senior does an internship, and they have to actually find an internship, get this sponsor. So, typically it's a local business that's not going to be, a half hour away, but in some cases it might. And so I found that fascinating that every senior has to do that, regardless of what their, goals are after the fact, whether it includes college or not. And even if I'm like, what do they do about activities? Yeah, they come back at the end of the day if they're play a sport or do another thing, and we come back, and so they're there. But they're done with school at the beginning of April, even though school ends in June. So they're doing this like 10-week internship at the end of their senior year.
And how much better is that for them than every high school job that I'm sure I ever had?
Right.
Compared to that, right? That it's actually resume building as opposed to just a job that you'd have.
Right. And I think we all know that we all take the last 2 months of our senior year off anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So feeding right into that anyway.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much, Mark, Tracy, and Abner, for all of your thoughts and expertise that you've shared with us today. I did just want to call out for all of our attendees that we will have 2 more webinars coming up later this month. We'll have one next Wednesday about the curriculum for our IT specialist program. And then the final webinar that we'll be hosting on the 22nd is how to prepare students for careers in IT. So we have some amazing educators here today. Our last webinar will be having some IT professionals come in and talk about their jobs across various disciplines and how they see their fields changing to be able to help you as educators prepare students for those jobs that are out there. So I'll drop that into the chat so that everyone has a chance to be able to register for those. And again, I just wanted to say a big thank you to all of our panelists and all of those who attended today. Thanks for spending part of your afternoon learning with us. And hopefully you're able to take some of this practical advice that our veterans here have shared with you to be able to apply in your classroom. So thank you so much, everyone. We'll catch you next time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.